Hi, Kitty. Hi, Kitty. Come on, Kitty. Come on, Kitty. Come on, Kitty. Good girl. Come on, sit right here with me. Here's my kitty. Good job, Kitty. What you feel? Okay, come on. What are you doing, baby? What are you doing, baby? Kitty, come on, get off there. Kitty, get off there. She doesn't only thing. Yeah, it's fine. Please help me. She's on my laptop. Oh, here we are. I'm on the live feed. That's
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
all right, everybody. Happy Monday. I'm going to welcome everybody to CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I hope everybody. Oh, yes. Hold on a minute. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend with CPS not involved in your lives at all. That would be a wonderful thing for all of you. I really hope that that is true. What I was thinking is this today. I'm sorry, I'm having some sort of weirdness going on here as usual. Something's happening. There we go. Sorry about that. So, over this past weekend, I did a lot of research, and there was a lot of things that I have noticed in which people are coming to the TVs to start to get educated about what's going on in the world of CPS in our lives. So today, it was brought to my attention by Miss Josee, our co-host on Mondays from Canada, that she had a couple of ideas for that. So today we're going to spend our day talking about how the big screen is affecting CPS and the corruption that is involved in. So to no further ado, I got Melissa and our co-host from Canada, Josee. Ladies, how are we today?
Good, are you?
It's been quite a weekend. But Josie, how's Canada? How's everything in Canada?
Canada's Canada's still cold. We got a little storm on Sunday. I don't know if you got one, but we got a little snowstorm, so that's good. Um, and like you were saying, I have a feeling that the world is slowly shifting. The world is slowly starting to see what's happening and starting to realize that human trafficking, like child trafficking, is happening, and it's like becoming clearer and clearer for everybody around the world, including like war torn countries now, right? Because they're talking about
Mhm.
them. They're talking like you see this decisiveness that they're trying to distract us, but it always comes back. Where are the children? Like what happened in Hawaii? Where are the children? Where are the children? Like there's always that little like, where are the children in everything that they try to distract us with, right?
Mhm. Right, because it's not a little number at all. It's a huge number. I mean, in the United States, you're talking between 3, 4, 5, up towards to 900 to 1,100 kids in each state each year are missing between um, the point that they are in foster care into the point that they are adopted out. And then we had gone through the stats. Wasn't it just a couple weeks ago we were all together talking about this, I believe. But the stats, or maybe not, who knows? I get so much of this. But the stats are astronomical that they did these reports saying that so many of these kids are being unnoticed, right? So where are they? Like no one is going, the CPS workers aren't doing their due diligence for their jobs to pay attention to where these kids are going. You know, it's freaking sad. It's so sad that most of these kids too were probably from a nice home. They're from a good spot. They got sucked into the system, and then they're vanished. You know, and that's really what's just breaks my heart. You know, like it's just so it sucks. You know, and then you figure yesterday we had the Emmys or the Academy Awards or whatever the heck those things
The
are.
Oscars, I didn't even watch them. I'm not even interested anymore. I
Right,
I
the
saw
Oscar.
on TikTok, everybody was wearing like a red pin, and I'm like, that looks like the poppy. I was kind of offended. Like, why does it look
No,
like a poppy?
well, you know what was the red pen? What did it
I
stand
don't.
for
It was
supposedly?
like for the people of God. What one had like the people of Gaza and the Gaza Strip, and then the other one was Palestine. So like you already saw the divisions between the two. Like I don't really know. I didn't watch it. I just saw it on Facebook going up, and I was like, oh, okay. So now they're allowed to say free the people, but what about the children in their own country, right? Like,
Right.
come on.
And how many of those children, that was just a hotbed festival for child trafficking and pornography and all of that. That was
Yeah.
the hotbed of all of these people that we saw at those awards. Like really, that's where it is. That's where it all is transpiring. That's it's sickening. But it's the truth. Like Hollywood is. I mean, you have Corey, the Coreys, the two Coreys, Corey Feldman and Corey, oh my gosh, what's the other one's the other Corey's name? But they would talk about their, well, not both of them because one of them is passed. Corey, what was the other Corey's name? Man, but I
I
know
know who you're
these were,
talking about though, but
yeah.
I don't know what his
So
name
they
is.
have stories. The Corey that's alive, Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman's the one that's still alive, right?
Yeah, Feldman is still alive. Yeah.
Right. So he talks about how I believe his story even goes to with Michael Jackson and everything, and he talks about how the kids in that Hollywood career, especially the up and coming stars and everything, are really just sucked in and groped and they're just Hollywood is a mecca for this stuff, And I don't know if you saw it, but one of those things like the girls, there's like a lot of significance with like the little kids dancing and doing these one eye covering things. And I mean, there's all kinds of little innuendos that are being done that are in support of, this type of stuff, supposedly things that you won't pick up on if you don't know. and it's just it's a freaking terrible thing. Like, give me one Hollywood actor or activist that's comes out and has said, hey, this child trafficking thing and the CPS thing and whatever I forget what you guys, BPD or what do you guys call it up there?
DPG or CPS, yeah.
DPG. Yeah. So
DPG,
where are these Hollywood role models and these icons to come out and try to put a stop to this?
Well, I remember a couple of years, well, I don't know, probably like a while ago, when Paris Hilton came out and talked about how she went to a program for troubled teens, and she was trying to talk about that stuff. And the other one too that went to the same program was that really pretty tattoo artist, Vaughn. I forget her name. The pretty one.
Yep.
Catherine Vaughn something. I don't
Oh,
know.
come on. If you guys in the chats, if you guys that are watching know any of these answers too when we're struggling, please behoove you to help us get the right answers for this stuff,
Well, them two were talking about, it wasn't really child trafficking, but it was talking about that like the show I told you about, the program on Netflix. They're talking about like these residential schools, therapy schools, where they told parents that their children were going to get help and blah blah, like the same plea that I got told for putting in my daughter in the residential school, right? We're gonna help her, they're professionals, blah blah blah. If you don't do this, you might find her dead. This is gonna help your family. And then like they brainwash us, and then the kids there are horribly treated, just like in CPS, just like in the DPG, like and they tried to talk about it. I remember that, and then people just kind of like said, oh, you were just a troubled teen, and then the judgment came on, and they kind of pushed it down and then continued their life. But that's the thing, every time you try to talk about it, people oh yeah, right, it doesn't happen, yeah, you're lying.
Conspiracy,
and that was the whole
right.
point of the program, is that the kids are all troubled teens already, so they're like, nobody's gonna believe you because you guys are all liars, right? So like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
It's crazy. Actually, I have this here. I got a couple of things here, Josee, that we could put up. First, I'll put up let's put up the trailer, and we can all catch an eye at this here, and so we can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
While I'm doing that, either one of you have any cool, good things going on in your cases while I'm putting this up?
Well, I
Anybody?
Me or
nothing new. Nothing
Either
much
or.
new going here. Still waiting for court on Thursday.
Yeah, so Melissa's got court on Thursday. That should be a good day. Hopefully, cross our fingers, prayers, and hopes, and all that good stuff for her. Josee, anything good from the hospital yet? Or are you still waiting on that?
I'm still waiting, but like I said, the past week was our spring break, so I figured everybody took it off to be with their kids, right? So yeah,
right.
But still waiting. So tomorrow I plan on going straight to the hospital and asking to see the administrator directly, because now there's no excuse.
No, there's not, and God forbid that administrator. All right, here we go, guys. Here's the trailer for the Netflix program, the Netflix show, The Program.
What do you do if your child gets caught in a cycle of self-destructive or even dangerous behavior? Some desperate parents are having their children abducted, taken against their will to a behavior modification program.
The reality is torture of children.
Is it true story?
I got here at 3 a.m, and they said I was not allowed to talk anymore,
it is.
And you can never leave.
They were being treated like prisoners. I had never done drugs in my entire life, but in order for me to graduate, I had to confess to using heroin, crack, cocaine, LSD.
They dehumanize the kids, that these kids are liars and manipulators. They use that to create compliance.
It's hard to comply with something that you know is wrong.
We have these handwritten, signed and dated confessions of abuse. Whoa, oh my God.
They use physiological experiences to manipulate the mind.
It's meant to break you. Palms up, palms down.
It is literal brainwashing.
You are at fault. You are to blame.
Palms together, palms apart.
The people that the program most wants to influence is the parents. It was basically a cult.
And we're talking worldwide. It's $1 billion industry.
It all went into this.
And it was just to make this guy rich.
It is human trafficking of children.
All these kids being robbed of normal childhoods, it's all still operating.
Oh, that looks. I want to get Netflix. I need to see that for sure. So that's a true story, Josee. You were saying?
Yeah, it's a documentary, and basically, the girl who did the documentary gets her other peers that they went to school together. Well, they went to that Ivy League together, and then they found out a whole bunch of documents, and they tried to talk to former people that worked there, and like, yeah, it's eye-opening. It's very like, oh wow, it's basically mostly focused on the children there and how they were treated, but you know, you see how it breaks families like completely. Child trafficking.
Oh.
This is just another form of control and
terrible.
taking your kids.
There's another thing right here. Actually, let's check this out here from the program. This is new. Let's see what the review says here for it. Let's take a check at this here.
If you're thinking about watching the Netflix documentary, The Program, Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping, just know the accounts and imagery you'll see can be horrifying and distressing to view. But that doesn't mean it's not worth watching. No talking, no smiling, no going outside. The Academy at Ivy Ridge claimed to use therapy and recreational activities to help troubled teens. Instead, teens suffered mental and physical abuse in a program that operated like a cult. In this investigative docuseries, a filmmaker and other former students recall their horrific experiences attending a disciplinary school and expose the horrors of the troubled teen industry. So to call the program a documentary may be a bit misleading. I mean, it's not a fictional drama, but this is more of an expose than an unbiased examination of a reform school facing a ton of horrendous allegations. And I don't say that as a bad thing, because the people creating this docu-expose were actually students who attended these academies, so they speak as primary sources from firsthand accounts. Katie Kubler is both the victim and documentarian in this. The presentation feels a bit like Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me, but with a much, much heavier narrative. Now, Katie narrates a lot of the accounts, telling her experiences through voiceovers and then a ton of on-camera, guerrilla-style filmings. She's also joined by several other survivors of the Academy at Ivy Ridge, each with their own terrible and haunting accounts that are both simultaneously very unique and almost identical. Now, at first, I thought that because this was 3 almost hour-long episodes, the content may feel dragged out or repetitive. But well before the first episode was over, I was completely enthralled. But I also was disgusted at what I was hearing, and I was planning in my head ways that the world should deal with people who do these sorts of things to kids. And they would be torturous and very drawn out. Now, it's sickening enough to hear just about Ivy Ridge, but then we're showed the much larger network that was running this and many other schools. I mean, there was rampant abuse, a lot of it documented in video footage. That's another thing, too. What these now adults are revealing are backed up by written and video evidence, and even through some staff interviews. When Ivy Ridge shut down, they just abandoned the buildings and left everything behind. So Katie and the others were able to rifle through mounds and mounds of student records that detailed every sort of abuse that was heaped on the kids. They come across more than a pile of security cam footage. It's almost like the Academy was proud of their crimes and torment and were saving the evidence for posterity, maybe for a company holiday party or even staff recruitment. And before I say more about this, while this is sad and heartbreaking, it's also inspiring to see these kids face some of their abusers and begin to find some semblance of closure. Not all of them are at that point, and most of them are going to live with varying degrees of PTSD their entire lives.
Yeah, that's the
but
thing,
we
you
are
know,
left with the
that's
impression of hope from those who participated in the documentary. They're working to move forward, and they showcased an enormous amount of strength and resolve. Now, I'm surprised at some of the interviews that Katie and her crew were able to perform. There are a couple of former staff who acknowledge the roles that they played in mistreating the kids. But then there are also those who deny any sort of wrongdoing, or maybe they point the finger at somebody else. And while it's unfortunately not shocking where some of the abusers ended up, it really should be. I mean, a few that we're told about never answered for their crimes. Instead, they just moved on to other avenues in which they can continue that cycle of abuse. Now, something interesting that's highlighted in this is how the parents of these kids who were placed in the academies were gaslit and brainwashed into believing that their kids were thriving and succeeding in the program. I mean, after all, the whole reason most of these kids were sent to places like this were because they were acting out or were being unruly. Now, some of us just call that being a teenager. Others, especially the stricter and legalistic religious types, they saw this as sinful and deviant behavior, and without stern correction, they'd be lost to the wiles of a damned society. Now, in some ways, it can make a bit of sense at what the parents were being told and shown. I mean, it was highly controlled. But I still think there had to be at least a small level of complicity to blatantly ignore any signs that the kids would display as a result of spending time in these detention centers. I mean, it came across that the parents were so disconnected from their kids and the way that their kids function normally that they couldn't even recognize that the littlest thing was wrong. Then, to make matters worse, we're shown how Katie would outright write to her parents about how she's being mistreated. And because of the snow job the Academy did on her parents, they disregarded every accusation.
Oh my
the
God.
interviews are damning and hard to listen to,
Wow.
especially as Katie and her friends recount their experiences. But these are told and edited in a way that makes them very engaging and even captivating. It's hard to praise the entertainment value of this because I don't want to give off the impression that this is something to take lightly or that its purpose is to charm or delight us. I mean, it is, though, just a well-crafted narrative detailing the crimes and offenses perpetrated on Katie, her friends, and then countless young people around the globe through this one organization. And these are accounts that should make us collectively want to gather the torches and pitchforks and then go serve some medieval justice on a whole bunch of terrible people. And for the sake of this video, I am not endorsing any sort of violence. But, you know, infer the point I'm making. So overall, the program Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping is a riveting expose, filmed and narrated in a personable manner. The participation in interviews of abuse survivors can be harrowing, but we also witness the cathartic effect telling their stories has. The footage and proof are both disgusting and heartbreaking, yet the documentary doesn't leave audiences with a mournful or dire perspective. Instead, instilling hope, these young people are helping bring to light atrocities that will help to bring about change. There's no sex or nudity, but a lot of profanity and then a ton of horrifying violence, both visually and then through written forms detailing out child abuse. Now, as a reminder, I don't give couch ratings to documentaries, but this is one of those that you should drop everything to watch. I mean, yeah, it is messed up and it's not a happy subject at all, but it's expertly crafted with a tremendously personal touch. All right, so to shift gears a bit, what are you looking forward to watching this week?
All right. So that's amazing that these kids, they actually went back to the school and they did that and they were allowed in there, and that's really cool. That's really cool. And the thing is he hit the nail on the head where, you know, like, where are these people? Like, let's come out. Like, it makes you so angry and it gets a hold of you, you know, like the mob mentality. But we don't get that with any of these situations that we're in with CPS and what they're doing to us. But this is done daily, you know. It's asinine. So that's awesome. Thank you for coming up with that one, Josee. I want to cut this short and go watch that right now.
There's another one too. Go watch Miss. Do you have the trailer for?
Yeah, I'm going to pull that one up too. What is that one? The
Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. Another
Mrs.
one.
Chatterjee
on
versus Norway.
That I cried for 2 hours. Oh my God!
Oh, tearjerker.
It is.
You know, I saw. You know,
Another story.
I saw in the news that I just saw a little bit of the what's the Finding Maya? Is that the story? The
No, that's a
big
different one. I didn't see that one.
right. You haven't seen. Well, I saw in the papers the other day that they finally settled. I think they for that family. And if anybody doesn't know, that movie's about the. It's like a medical kidnapping. The family gave this girl some medicine treatment that was not exactly up to par with what everybody thinks. They gave him what was it? I believe it was ketamine, that horse tranquilizer or whatever. That was the only thing that could help her with her disease. Anyway, they took her from her family, and this kid got the tragedy just like everybody else. Like they go, her mother died because of her sadness and cancer, and like all these bad things happened through the time that she was gone. And then she finally came home. I think she was like 16 or 17. But they got, I think it was upwards of $120 million. Their lawsuit went for. So good for them that they got that. And that's thank God that someone's finally doing something for these families, because the pain and suffering that goes through this stuff, it's not even just every day, it's every second of every day. You both know, like you ache and cry for your kids all the time. Like it's just, it just cripples you. It really does. I mean, both of you know, like, I mean, how many times is the thoughts of, Melissa and your kids, and Josee, your grandbabies, like it's constantly, and it's, since we all do this stuff too, it's in your face, all day long, all night long, I'm sure Josee, you're just like us. You probably got your people that you talk to daily. You're on the phone all night long, like the lifestyle that you live and what this thing creates it's crazy. Like it isn't just like
and honestly, not only that, Darren, but you have to at some point, even though they're telling you your kid's coming home, it runs through your mind the realization that no matter how hard you try, that kid's probably not actually ever coming home, and you try to figure out how to carry on in life without them.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is you don't want to be with the false hope. Like that's the one thing that you don't, even just going to trial and going to the court hearings, and you see all this stuff, and it's so clear to see that this is wrong, and that you're like, how can this possibly be, and that you're going to go in the courtroom, and you've got the evidence you need or the information you need. There's no way. But you go up there and they don't even care that you did it. Like they don't even care that you're dumping this information. And you're absolutely right. It's like, it's another blow, and it's like, damn it, like another thing, and it
Well,
sucks.
I mean, just like in my case, they openly admit there's nothing wrong ever occurred here, but since they met their 12-month statute, they don't feel like giving them back, so they just don't want to.
Yeah,
And they admit the worst thing we've ever done is the referral that they never sent out for counseling didn't get completed.
That's just terrible. You shouldn't be a parent for that. I mean, Josee too, right? Josee, what are they saying in your situation that you guys need to do to get your grandbaby back? Because you didn't do anything. Melissa didn't do
Nothing.
anything.
Exactly. Like this week we were lucky because like I said, we were on spring break. So what happened was that my daughter, she got to see Kaylee from 8:30 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and she came to my house because she wanted her brother and sister, so the aunt and uncle and grandfather. So we spent the whole day with Kaylee, and we went to this fun place with the baby and stuff. So we had like 6 hours with her. It was like the first time in like 15 months, right? So like, I mean, but I mean, they basically, they have nothing on me, and like I think they're starting to give, they're trying to say that they're going to give back more time to Naomi, my daughter, because like they have nothing eventually. And I'm on TikTok. They don't like it, but eventually people are seeing, like, why the hell does she not have her baby? And the more I push in the back, the more they're just like, we just don't want to deal with Josee anymore. Let's just fucking give the baby back. Like, I don't care. That's like my point. Like, I don't care. Just like,
well, both of you are on the same. You two have the situation exactly the same. Nothing wrong. Both of you guys lost the baby. Well, Melissa lost her baby daughter right from the hospital, as we heard in the show the other night. And Josee, your daughter lost her daughter, your granddaughter, right from the hospital too. Were either one of you guys, did you expect that to happen, Melissa, Josee? Like, were you guys anticipating the loss of your child, Melissa, and your Josee, your granddaughter? I don't know how you guys want to answer this.
So I had actually spoke to all the attorneys in our case prior to the delivery, because it was an induced delivery. Because if I thought they would have been an issue, hell, I would have just went, I'm 20 minutes from the state line. I could have just jumped down to Florida and not had a problem. But what all of my attorneys advised me, and I say all of mine because I had 3 attorneys at the time, and all 3 of them said the same thing. Yes, there's an open case for services for Sarah, but none of this affects your other kids because she was a voluntary service. We went to them seeking services for her. That it doesn't involve the other kids. Therefore, unless they can come up with new grounds and a new case, they got no grounds to remove.
Right.
And, literally, they threw me out of the hospital an hour after she was born. And not even 2 weeks later, they send me this letter saying that after their investigation, my case was non-indicated of harm. But you better be damn sure if I went down there and said, okay, if I'm non-indicated, give me my kids back, they'd look at me, laugh at me, and have me drug out of there. And I always figured that's why they wrote that letter, was just a way to screw with me.
That right there is your void ab initio. Josee, what about you? What about, like, you guys anticipate? You were going to the hospital to get the baby and bring her home, correct?
Well, we anticipated that they could do a birth alert with Naomi. We did, because, like I said, most of her friends that were in Children's Aid had a birth alert and got their child taken away. So we anticipated that it could be a possibility. That's why we planned that she moved downstairs in the basement, that I was going to be there, that, we made sure that everything, like, she had a good security net, blah, blah. I was there. And then we said, if anything happens, me and her father would have her, right? Like, if anything happened, I would take the baby and, we would continue, like, for them. So that's exactly what happened. But then when she said, okay, the next morning I can go pick up the baby, and they took her, then we were not expecting that,
Right. The security guard stopping you in the hallway. I don't know where Herbert is, but Herbert, hopefully you're doing well. Normally we would have kicked that question to him. So both of you, like, you have this going on. There's nothing in the sites, if you will, that there's anything that even says remotely that you are dangerous people, or even closely, or even furthermore, those children were not in imminent danger of anything but CPS.
Well, and honestly, Darren, you've read my transcript. I mean, you've seen right in there where the workers actually testified that there's no allegations, there's nothing against us.
Right.
And, over and above them stealing my daughter, they've denied my husband the right to be on Annabella's birth certificate. I've been going rounds and rounds with the hospital because the hospital filed false documentation, because me and JR, when we filled out my daughter's, birth certificate, live birth paperwork, and certified all information to be correct, I certified on there that he was my husband and the father of the child, and they altered the birth certificate to say that there is no father and his whereabouts are unknown, and that I refuse to give his info.
Wow. And for the record, that isn't even anywhere near the truth, right? I just had to get that out in the open and say
Oh
that's
yeah,
not even.
no. Me and my husband live together. We've done DNA through the department, proving that the child's his, because they went out of their way to try to argue that the child wasn't his, so that they could try to attack me as an individual, not us as a family. Because only
Right.
by breaking the household bond can they destroy a family, and that's what it really boils down to. The way to conquer is to divide. They say every husband's a bad husband, every wife's a bad wife, every sister's a bad sister, and the quicker they can divide the family, the quicker they win.
Yeah. Division of Family Services. Do they
Literally,
have
the
any of that?
division of family.
Yep, that's it. That's what I'm saying. Josie, is there any of that in your situation? I know we don't talk a lot about like your family unit, your core, and how your family is, but what about you? Have they tried to put a wedge in between you and any of your family members?
Well, they say they tried to do the wedge between me and my daughter. Like they
Okay.
made her move out because they didn't want her to live in the apartment downstairs. They keep writing in their documents that me and my daughter have a toxic relationship, which is not the case at all. Yeah, so for her to move out was to disrupt her security, and they don't want me to influence her. you know in their head they
Mhm.
think I'm like this horrible person, but me and my
Right.
daughter have a great relationship. So
Yeah.
then my husband, well, my husband, nice, they're not even the problem. My husband doesn't even exist in the paperwork. Like, they don't even mention him at all. Like, it's as if I'm like a single mother with my two other kids.
Well, and
His name is not
honestly,
mentioned.
that's one of their strategy tactics. Because they know that they've already got the trial judges pretty much paid for, because they get paid money to supervise the case, so on and so forth. So the strategy tactic is through their reunification, they have to prove to the higher up courts, because everyone's going to appeal, but they have to prove to the higher court that the family is not a secure, unified bond. Because through that, they can convince the higher courts that when it gets appealed, that your family was in shambles to begin with.
Yeah.
And they're more likely that if one of your family members was to adopt the child, then they would not communicate with you guys because they want to keep the family divided.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren, that's a process I think you're definitely familiar with.
Yeah, I definitely got that one. They just you think one minute that your family's doing by you and standing by you, and here's the thing too, that what this does, this CPS thing, is it takes, you could have it could be your brother, your sister, a friend of 30 years. It doesn't matter how long you've known them, how much you've loved them, how much you cared for them, how much you've done for them. As soon as CPS comes knocking on your door and they get involved in your life to that degree that they take your child, everybody in your surroundings is gone. They've vanished. You have no more friends, you have no more workmates. Everybody looks at you almost in a like a distasteful or disgusting way. Like people in the grocery, it just the stigma has got to change for how people view people that are involved in the CPS cases. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, is getting that stigma to change, because 12 90 I'm sorry 87% rate of being wrong. That's a lot of parents out there that are being looked at as terrible, horrible people, and in reality they're not even close to what those reports said, or how they ruled on them or whatever. They're not even close to the reality of the situation. And that's one of the things that we got to figure out as a whole and everything. How can we change the stigma, the way people view you, Melissa, and you, Josie, and me? Like, I'm the criminal here. You guys must be
Well,
bad women, parents.
honestly, I think I'm kind of fortunate in that situation because the county that's screwing with me is well known for being corrupt.
Mhm.
And so the guy I bought my house from, He was the local town constable. They took his
Oh,
kids.
wow.
You
They
know,
took his kids?
oh yeah. Back when
Holy
when
smoke.
his son Randall was young, while he
Yeah.
was a constable, this county took his kids. So this county is known for their corruption. So I am highly respected, and I'm self-employed, and my services are in high demand, and I'm respected by everyone in the community, and they all know the story. But what I've been doing, and I found that this helps, and I found that this works. You get involved in your local county's politics, because my judge that despises me, he's a Democrat. He was appointed his seat. I've been going to the local Republican meetings. So I've put my county's garbage out in the limelight, and it's actually being used by the local politicians against them. Because I've learned with all the families through, the National Action Network that I work with, I've learned through them that the best way to attack the judges and the department is to bring media into it. To the point that we've bought front page news articles in some of the bigger papers just to get it in the paper. Not because we thought anyone in our town would read it, but we buy up 100 copies of the paper and we mail it to the governor, and we mail it to every House of Representative member for our state, and our local congressional seats, everyone within our state's politics. We mail that shit to them. And then all of a sudden people start noticing, because the only way to attack a judge, you're not going to get around their immunity for them violating, everyone's rights. You're not going to get around the immunity. Everyone says, "Oh, I'll sue the judge." No, you really won't. Unless the judge jumps off that bench, runs down, and bitch slaps the hell out of you, you ain't going to be able to sue the judge.
Right.
But the biggest thing he's afraid of, because most of them are elected officials, and even if they're appointed, the next election term, they are elected. So the one thing that terrifies them more than anything is bad publicity.
Well, that's the case. That's just what Josee. You've gone so far as to even go to. You just were at that meeting. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Have you heard anything back from your spout out there?
Well, so I'm at like 20,000 views on that.
Oh wow, good for you. Good for you.
So it got shared, it got written, it got posted, reposted, so that's good. But nobody has contacted me in the community, nothing. I did, however, last week also get a nice letter from the prosecutor telling me that that the social worker in question that took my grandbaby, she went to the police because she saw that I did a TikTok and I was talking about human trafficking, and she received that letter. So she waited a week. She saw that I wasn't joking, and then she wrote to the prosecutor saying that she thinks that this is harassment, and that now I'm charging her with trafficking and blah, 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 blah. And now the prosecutor is putting this new proof onto my charge of death threats against her. But I was like, oh, whatever. She's just scared. But yeah, so nobody has contacted me, but like I said, it was all part of playing chess and putting the chess piece there to say,
getting a buzz in the air.
Once I go to court, nobody's gonna say we didn't know. You all know. Yeah.
That's true, good. I'm so glad that you did that. Like, you're a warrior. I mean, that's awesome that you put everything aside. You just went there, and I know for a fact what both of you are saying is so true. I too I emailed, wrote letters. I did all of these things to every state of Maine council member, to every state of Maine senator, legislator. All of these people used to go to the Maine Capitol building and try to grab these guys when they'd be walking out. And we're talking about the local state government. That was some of the things that we would do, and they just wouldn't hear it. It's so hard to get these people to listen to what you have to say. And the only thing that I can say is they're in on it too. Right? How much response did you get, Josee? You're not getting a response from any politicians or anything. I'm sure you're getting people.
A lot of times they are in on it. And actually, in my state, there's this one politician that he just pushed to get your fundamental rights as a parent put into statutes, into the actual law books, because everyone forgets that if it ain't wrote in a statute, it may still be the law of the land. Just because it ain't in a book wrote down. So he pushed to get the fundamental rights of a parent put into the law books to try to help protect parents. And he told me straightforward, because I talked to him, and he told me straightforward. He says he says all the representatives, they hear hundreds of stories on a daily basis, to the point that they quit answering their phone because there's nothing they can do.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, you forgot to put the thing on Miss Chatterjee. I think.
No, I did not. I have it waiting. I'm ready. I'm ready and waiting. I was just listening to us. We were just doing that. Nope. I did not forget.
She writes to everybody. She writes to everybody asking for help, and nothing.
Yeah, that's just, and that's the heart. That's one of those things that make this whole thing so tiresome. You work so hard, you do petitions, you do all of this stuff, and you get nothing back. And you're like, man, please, someone listen, help me, do something, please, But yeah, here's the movie that you were talking about, Josee, right here. It's Miss Chatterjee versus Norway. Let's take a look at this.
আমি দেবিকা আর এ আমার হাজবেন্ড মিস্টার চ্যাটার্জি এ काम करता है नॉर्वे में ये मेरा दोनों बच्चा लोग हैं शो और शुचि छोटी छोटी खुशियां चुनो ओ शुभ शुभ हम अपना प्यारा कोलकाता छोड़ के नॉर्वे में अपना नया दुनिया बनाए पर उस दिन इन लोगों ने हमारा दुनिया छीन लिया
वेलफेयर ने ये पाया है कि आप अपने बच्चों की देखभाल सही से नहीं कर पा रहे। What? आपके बच्चों की कस्टडी अब हमारे पास है। क्या बोल रहे हैं?
मेरा बच्चा ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग पे है। प्लीज मेरा बच्चा वापस दे दो।
Wilfred has picked up the children without informing the parents.
This couple here have been investigated for 10 weeks.
Cultural differences को लेके इन्होंने तो केस बना दिया आप पे। बच्चों को हाथ से खाना खिलाते हो, साथ सुलाते हो, माथे पे टीके लगाते हो। इनका तो ये कहना है कि
Mrs. Chatterjee has an unstable mind. This court rejects Mrs. Chatterjee's petition. No. Both children will be wards of the state till they are 18 years old. बच्चों की आड़ में बिजनेस चला रहे हैं ये लोग। जितने बच्चे ये फॉस्टर सिस्टम में डालते हैं ना, उतने ही पैसे मिलते हैं सबको।
दोनों बच्चा चाहिए। तुम्हें कोई आइडिया भी है इस मैटर से मेरे सिटीजनशिप एप्लीकेशन में क्या असर पड़ेगा?
तुम्हें तुम्हारे सिटीजनशिप से अलावा और कुछ दिखता है क्या?
मैं जानू मैं रूह यारू मैं जान।
I need my children, sir. I die, sir. Without my children, I die.
ये फैमिली मैटर
नहीं, ये देश का मैटर है। इनको लगता है कि हमारा भिखारी देश है, नो कल्चर। जिस जगह हमको न्याय मिलेगा, दुनिया का कोई भी जगह, वहाँ जाके हम लड़ूंगा। पूछो ये माँ के दिल से।
देविका जी, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
हम अच्छा माँ है, बुरा माँ है, पता नहीं, पर माँ हूँ सर।
Wow. Ooh, that looks intense right there. Holy smokes. Wow.
Yeah, it's very intense, and it's like you can see it's all subtitles, so it's not in English. You have to read it, but there's
Right.
parts that are in English, and it didn't even matter. Like I said, I cried for 2 hours straight. I was
Oh.
like, and this is Norway. Like, this is
Right.
the system that took her children. And then, like she said, she was investigated for 10 weeks, okay? And then
Mhm.
you see how awful children's aid are. So for 10 weeks, she thinks, like, she's new in Norway. She came from India. She's new from Norway, blah, blah. And she thinks that these people are her friends. And she's like cooking them, bringing them coffees and stuff. And she's thinking that, she's starting to have girlfriends, right? And they use everything to like show that she's crazy and she's unstable, and like, oh my god, it's intense. It's intense. And her husband is kind of like being like, be good, I want my Norwegian citizenship, so like, can you just like stop, like don't fuck it up for me, and
Right.
eventually you're like, yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Is there anything in this story, the Mrs. Chatterby one, that is relative to your situation, Josee? Like that something like struck a nerve chord? You're like, oh my gosh, this was just like me.
The whole thing, like
The whole
literally,
thing?
except I'm the grandma, but the way she fights, the way she goes, she goes and talks to politicians. She never tries. Eventually, at one point, she actually steals her children, and then like she kidnaps them. She finds them and she kidnaps them, and then it gets used on her, right? And they're like, well, you stole your own children, blah blah. Oh my god! But like, it's literally my story. This woman did not stop, and she's like, I want my kids, and
Yeah.
she worked hard, and eventually it's a good
No, no spoiler alert.
But she fought hard.
Right. I mean, how many letters have you guys written to congressmen or senators or to people like that?
I wrote all the Conservative Party in Canada.
I don't know how many that is, but it sounds like a lot.
Everybody in Quebec, every politician in Quebec on all parties, I have wrote them an email, like literally. And then like you said, we're not the only ones. And then talking to other grandmas, they did the same thing. So like Melissa said, they know what's going on. They get emails every day from someone saying, help me,
Well, and the sad thing is there was a politician in Georgia that tried to stand up for parents' rights, and it ended up in her death.
Yeah, Nancy Schaefer.
And that was Nancy Schaefer. Yeah, it caused her and her husband's life. They were slaughtered.
Yep. Madly in love, but yet it was a murder-suicide. Do you know about Nancy Schaefer?
Nope.
No? Oh, you should definitely check her out, Josee. She was a martyr for sure. She
literally posted reports showing every bit of the money they were stealing, how much they were making off kids, where it was going, what was happening to the kids. And she was like that what's her name? Tara Rhodes?
Yeah.
Tara Rhodes, that's speaking out on the immigrant children coming into the U.S. Nancy Schaefer was that for the American children. And she was just, she was straight out slaughtered for it. I'm actually surprised that Tara Rhodes hasn't been assassinated yet. Because she's making pretty big waves for the immigrant children. I think they said now we're up to 96,000 missing immigrant children in the U.S. Just in the last 3 years.
Holy smokes. 100,000 kids just gone, missing, out of line, out of sight, wow.
Well, do you remember Ashley the girl that came on who she was molested by her uncle, the
Yep.
Supreme Court judge.
Yep.
She's in Washington, D.C. right now, today.
Really?
She's in Washington, D.C. trying to speak to the DOJ and everything because she's now been ran out of her state.
Oh wow, we should get a hold of her.
Yeah, they've ran her out of her state. They still have her son. They're starting to dress him like a girl.
Oh my gosh, and he's handicapped.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 23 and he has a IQ just barely above auditable, and he has learning and cognitive disabilities along with a brain injury. So he kind of parrots a lot of what he hears. If you're a rocket scientist, so is he. They had him placed somewhere with someone who was questioning his identity. And so now he's telling everyone that he questions his because he heard that.
Right.
So the lady that's taking care of him took him out and bought him a bunch of dresses, and now they're dressing him up like a girl.
Oh my God.
But you see, this is what is fucked up. When I was watching the program, this troubled teen industry, we are doing, that's over now, and now we're doing the trans teen industry. Like, can people wake up and realize this is another form of brainwashing and the kids coming? It's like a cult. It is.
It's worse than it.
Well, it's worse than that, especially in our country, because now we're getting to where we're trying to protect the pedophiles.
Right. It's just disgusting. It's so terrible. It's it just sucks. You know, it sucks that we have a legal, lawful government or privatized self-contracting or subcontracted unit that can just go into any home in North America, given that they can say imminent danger, and walk in and just steal your kid. You know, like, this is the whole North American continent this is going on in. That's a lot.
It's going on worldwide.
Right, but I'm saying,
just on this continent.
No, of course. This has been going on since 1666. But the whole thing is like this entire continent is plagued with it. That should show people that are homebodies and everything that don't even look past a map other than that part of the globe. Like, this part of our globe is completely just ransacked with people trying to steal and harm children.
So I don't know if you remember, Darren, when we used to do the other shows.
Yes.
One of the guests that I had on, she was actually from England.
Oh well, yeah, England.
And she was literally reaching out to us, like begging for any kind of advice.
Yep.
Because over there, they openly use the kids for testing and organ harvesting. Like, it's well known.
Mm-hmm. Is there a lot of that in Canada too, the organ harvesting, Josee?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of?
Not that I've seen, not that I've heard. No.
Right, because what's crazy about this whole thing is, you know, we all got into this, I'm sure, because we were investigating what we can do to get our kids back, how to fight them in a courtroom, try to see what's going on here or there, whatever, you know, trying to do all these things. But this thing spreads in so many different directions. You know, one day I'm sitting there writing a writ for my daughter, and then the next 20 minutes later, I'm reading an article from, you know, India about how, you know, their government is doing that over here. It's crazy how this thing is so diverse. This is why I tell people it doesn't have a face, a name, a color, a sex, any of that. Whoever they want to grab, they're going to grab. You know, like, and you're not out of arm's reach from any of these government divisions, especially the CPS. You don't have your rights from the Constitution or whatever you have equivalent to that in Canada, Josee. Like, you know, like, they don't play by their rules.
Right now, they did a bill in Quebec. They did a bill which is C-115. Yeah, I think 15, C15, and basically it says that our children are owned by the government, literally. We do
They
not
just did
own
that
our
in
children; the
California
government
too.
owns them. And what's really big on the Quebec news right now is we have 12 cases of not
Yeah,
chickenpox,
the
but
rubella
measles.
virus or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. So now, since spring break is over, now the big thing on the news is that they're gonna force vaccinate the children with the new mRNA vaccine, and basically, if you deny it or whatever, guess who's gonna come in? CPS,
Yep.
DPG will
Yep.
probably come in because you're negligent. You're not doing what the government wants you to, and then there you go. Whoops, snatch the children away. You're being an awful
Yep.
parent. You're being negligent to their health, and goodbye.
It's just
Yeah,
disgusting.
that is the one thing that our state did do good by making a bill. It's called House Bill 6 that says a parent has the right to dictate the upbringing of their children as long as it doesn't lead to harm, and they have the right to decide their medical as long as it does not lead to harm, and that no state or government facility may intervene unless there is pretty much imminent danger.
Yeah, but that's how they did it with COVID. It was imminent danger. You needed to be vaccinated for COVID, and if you
Yeah.
didn't, you were harmful, and you were putting other people's life in harm, as they said. Today, we all
Yeah,
know it's
see,
not true.
our state never hopped on the COVID bandwagon, and actually in Florida, they made the vaccine illegal. They
Well,
called
you're
it a,
lucky.
a bioterrorism weapon, and they marked it
I lost
illegal.
my military career because I said no to the vaccine.
You know that there's a big class action suit going on now because of that.
I know, I'm in it.
Oh, smokes, guys. We are way past our time here. Wow. Way past. Ladies.
Well, you started late anyways.
Well, yeah, but the time still ticks the same way the time ticks. Any last things that you guys want to get out and say before we end this thing?
Go watch those 2 Netflix shows.
Best words of advice from Josee. Anything from you, Melissa?
Don't open your door if you don't have to, and record everything.
Okay. All right, ladies. Thank you guys ladies so much for being with me tonight. We will be back again next Monday with Josee. Or Josee, anytime you want to come in, you're more than welcome to. Melissa and I will be back tomorrow, I'm sure, and maybe we'll have Herbert back. But here it is, guys. There's the way that Hollywood is showing what's going on in the world, and it's hitting the TVs. So hopefully we're going to get better coverage and more people involved in what we're doing with the movement and how you can get involved. You can go to our site, abolishcps.com. There's a lot of information there that will give you what you can and need to do if you want to get involved with some type of a movement or different things and different movements that are available. It's just there's a lot of things out here. There's a lot of things that you can get involved with, and there's a lot of TV movies now that you can watch and you can learn about how this stuff is really affecting people in this world. So, Josee, thank you for bringing that up tonight. That's a great topic and some great recommendations. And people, I suggest you guys take a look at them too. But hey, I'm the CPS Punisher. I'm out of here. We'll catch you all tomorrow.